Hey, yo, welcome back to Tipoff. Dr. Ron Poniewasz, Larry Kelly, the professor, joining us again. Larry Kelly, the ninth grade basketball coach at Newcastle, the varsity baseball coach at Shenango. Larry, thank you for joining us this week.
I want you to add to my bio, along with Ron Poniewasz, an award-winning journalist for the Newcastle News Gridiron podcast. I want that part of my bio because I'm proud of that. I don't know if you are. Maybe you win a lot of journalism awards. Me, not so many. That's my first. And journalism was my first love. I just want you to know that.
All right. We are the runner-up award-winning podcast here, as Larry says, the Tipoff. We'll let you know if we secure any kind of medals or plaques this year. We'll know that pretty soon.
That plaque sits proudly at my law office. Just want you to know.
Okay, but first off, Grant McKay is our athlete of the week for print edition. Grant McKay is a junior wrestler competing at the 160-pound weight, Laurel High School. He took silver medal this year in the state wrestling championship, again at the 160-pound weight class. He lost to wrestler Holden Garcia, I believe it was, from Notre Dame Green Pond, 2-1 in that match. And last year, Grant McKay was the state champion. This year, he went into that match at 40-1, came out of it at 40-2. Still nothing to sneeze at for sure. Grant McKay, a silver medalist.
Congratulations. What a tough kid. What a tough sport. He's only a junior. I have a funny feeling he'll be back there again. I know all about one-run losses in the state championship game, having experienced one myself. I'm sure the young man is second-guessing himself. I'm sure his coaches are maybe second-guessing themselves. But as a wise man once told me, before you got to be there before you lose in the championship game. And, you know, the meaning of that is you got to beat a lot of wrestlers or a lot of baseball teams or a lot of basketball teams to get to the championship game. And there's no shame in losing that last one. Because as I always like to say, it's not the final result that young men and young women remember at the end of their athletic careers. It's the journey that took them to that final result. Grant McKay is a great wrestler, state champ last year, runner-up this year. He'll be back next year, and I wouldn't be surprised if he brings home another gold medal. He is an exceptional athlete and a special wrestler to have gotten to the state championship 2 years in a row.
And a Pitt recruit also.
With good reason. Pitt has one of the best wrestling programs in the ACC. And so with good reason, you know, he's a Pitt recruit, and I'm sure he'll be back next year, and I wouldn't be surprised if he brought home the gold next year. He's just that kind of an athlete, and special. You got to be special to get there, and you got to be special to win. And he's been there twice and won once, and that's pretty special achievement.
All right, for basketball purposes, let's talk about a couple players here for tip-off. One near and dear to Larry, certainly as a ninth grade basketball coach at Newcastle. He knows an awful lot about Mike Wells. Mike Wells had 33 points in a 63-50 win over Northeastern, and he followed that up with 41 points in an 85-34 win over Central Mountain. So that's two awfully good performances out of Mike Wells, and he's had, I think it's 13 straight performances of 22 points or more. I mean, that's an awful lot of points, and then to rack it up like that every game.
He's getting better every game. I mean, he had a fabulous game against Laurel Highlands. I think he had 23 that game and 9 rebounds, almost had a double-double. And in these 2 state playoff games, he's just been fabulous. In the first one, I think he had 28, 29 points in the first half. And, you know, the fact of the matter is, you know, we kind of took our foot off the accelerator. He might have had 40 in that game. He is a do-it-all player for us. both on the boards and as a scoring machine. And Ralph Belundo, during a conversation that we had the other day, said, I'm going to miss Mike Wells, and with good reason.
Yeah, absolutely. 1,868 points after the Central Mountain game. And Larry, I was thinking about this the other day, and I'll ask you, no right or wrong answer, certainly. So obviously no pressure on you. Do you think that fans, whether you're talking Newcastle fans or just Lawrence County fans in general, realize how special the athletes have been coming out of Newcastle? I mean, we watch Malik Hooker, what he did in football and in basketball, and we're thinking, wow, that's got to be like a once in a lifetime type of talent. Okay, here comes Marcus Hooker, and well, okay, all right, maybe it's a family thing because Markel Hooker came along. Okay, here comes Geno Stone, and he did well in football and basketball, better than did well, and now here's Mike Wells. It's just like it's a factory. Granted, it's still Newcastle, but do you think fans realize how special or lucky they've been to be able to watch that type of talent?
It's been quite a run, and sooner or later it will end. The guys that you've just mentioned were all-state basketball players. Two of them are in the NFL. Another one's at Ohio State. Michael Wells will continue his football career at YSU next year. Division I athletes, special talent, tough kids, laser focused, all of the ingredients that make for championship basketball. Yeah, we've had our run and our share of great basketball players. More importantly, great young men.
Yeah, and it's been one right after the next. There's really been no lull. I mean, no break. It's one right after the next, to the point where you just kind of want to say, all right, what do you have at the 8th grade level, football and basketball? Because whoever it is, they're coming. Because if we go with the past, with Malik to Marcus to Markel to Geno Stone, and Markel, I believe, was one sport, but still over 1,000-point scorer, and then Geno Stone and Mike Wells, you kind of wonder what's down at the 8th grade level, because there's a history there. It's just rinse and repeat. Come on, let's get another athlete.
Well, we'll see. They're coming, so we'll see. The key is to develop your body and to develop your skills. The best athletes in 8th grade aren't always the best athletes when they get to the high school. There are some exceptions. I mean, Malik Hooker, Marcus Hooker, Geno Stone, and quite frankly, Michael Wells. They played for me as 8th graders. Geno was a 9th grader, and they were special from day one. Michael Wells has been a double-double machine since he's been in 8th grade. And that's hard to do as an 8th grade basketball player playing against 9th graders. Double-double machine, just rebounds and points consistently every game.
Sure. And then on the girls' side, Kylie Rubin, she had just 5 points in a 49-43 win over Northern Bedford, but backed that up with 22 points in a 59-53 win over Seton LaSalle. Both of those games are state playoff games. Kylie Rubin has been doing that most of the year for Shenango, and first-year coach Ricky LaRocco. They're a fun team to watch, Larry.
Listen, I watch them practice from time to time because I'm in and around the school. They're great young women with a great coaching staff. The really good players are consistent, and you talk about Kylie Rubin. Her consistency is what separates her from an average player. An average player will be good on Tuesday, and then on Friday, not so good. But the really good players, it's their consistency that separate them from the other players on the court.
There's one thing I learned growing up around here. People should look out for each other. Be friends and neighbors that you can count on. So it bothers me when people who are hurt in automobile accidents get bullied by the insurance company. I don't let bullies run over my clients. I do what I was taught growing up. Step up, stand up, and speak up for those who can't. I'm Larry Kelly. and I'm a Newcastle guy.
All right, we are back with you to close up shop here on Tip-Off. And first off, we have some random topics. In this segment, we are going to talk about the other 3 games that are going on involving our county teams. But first off, we have a little bit of a coaching question for the coach, Larry Kelly. And, Larry, on Saturday, Elwood City was playing Avonworth up at the field house. And it was 47-43 at the end of 3 quarters. Elwood City had the lead. Elwood City gets a bucket to start the 4th quarter. And they go up 49-43. And Alexander Roth is whistled for a foul, his 4th. That's a lot of fouls. That's one more foul and you're done. And Chris Wise, the interim coach, who is also the Elwood City baseball coach who took over for Jeff Fodia last year, very good coach. He had a very tough decision to make right on the spot. You don't have a lot of time to think about it. It's a yes or no thing. Are you leaving them in or are you taking them out? Yes or no. You got to figure it out. So on the fly, up 49-43, I believe it was 7 minutes, 10 seconds left. Larry Kelly, what is Larry Kelly doing in that situation? Are you putting Alexander Roth on the bench and hoping to quote unquote steal minutes and get yourself to a 3 or 4 minute spot? Or are you pulling him aside and say, look, you've got to be awfully careful. One more and you're done. Can you promise me that you're not going to get that 5th foul? Can I count on you? What's your thought?
I'm leaving him in the game, and I'm talking to him to make sure that he knows he has to be careful. But I'm also talking to somebody else. I'm talking to the lead official, and I'm going to say, look, one of my best players over here, Alexander Roth, has 4 fouls. Don't call it cheapy. I've asked officials this question. Do you need to know, and should you know, when one of the better players on a team has 4 fouls? And the answer is always the same. Yes. Yeah, we know, and we want to know to make sure. Because, again, at the end of the day, you want to let the players decide the game. And so I'm leaving them in. I'm talking to Alexander, but I'm going to mention something to the lead official too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in no way is this, meant to, kind of get on Chris Wise. He's a great coach, great baseball coach, and, he's on that basketball staff for a reason. I agree with you, Larry. It's a snap decision. You don't have a lot of time to think about it. You have to make a decision, and you have to be comfortable with it. You have to roll with it, and he did. For me, I'm standing there thinking, okay, this is a state playoff game. You win and you move on, as you like to say, survive and advance. And if you don't, you put away the basketballs and you progress on to spring sports. And, I think I'm pulling Alexander Roth aside and say, look, you're in the lane and the guy's driving at you, get out of the way. Give up the 2 points and stay on the floor. Can I count on you? It's got to be one of those things. And
what did Chris do? I don't remember. I listened to the game, but I don't remember. Did he leave him in the game?
No, he pulled him out, and Elwood City proceeded to be outscored, I think, like 23-3 in the 4th quarter. They lost by like 16 points, maybe 66-50, something like that.
Yeah, I know Avonworth went on a big run, but yeah, I don't think there's any wrong decision there. There is a lot of coaches that would take him out of the game. You have to know your players. You have to know their makeup. How aggressive are they? Are they capable of, laying back and still being an effective player? Alexander's a senior. His brother Joe, I believe, is the sophomore. And again, that's just me. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong. All I'm saying is that's what I would have done, and I'd have taken my chances.
There's 2 things, Larry, in life that's undefeated: Father Time and hindsight. Both of them are undefeated, my friend. And it's real easy for us to both sit here and say, he did this, or he should have done that, or what have you. But I guess, what it all boils down to is you got to remember Chris Wise was the interim coach when they went to state-ranked Franklin and won. So give him credit for that.
Listen, you're looking at a guy that had a guy, gave the still signal 3 times in a row to a runner at first base in the last inning and he got picked off in the last inning of the state championship game. There are probably a lot of people who said I shouldn't have been doing that. And maybe they're right. You can always be second guessed, but as you said, you have to go with your gut feeling.
Mm-hmm.
There's a book called Blink, and that book says that the decision that you make in the blink of an eye, 90% of the time is the correct decision. Larry Kelly's philosophy is I play to win. I play to win. I don't play in my fears. If you're going to throw my guy out or pick him off, then you have to make a play. And so that's why Larry Kelly says, I'm leaving the guy in the game. I'm going to push the envelope. You know, that's not always the best play. If you ask 10 coaches that, probably 8 of them are going to say, you got to take them out and buy yourself some time because you have the lead. How long was Alexander out of the game? My guess is not very long.
Yeah, that I don't know offhand. I do think when you look at it, you could possibly also make the argument that maybe you handle it differently in a regular season game when you could say, oh, look, here's our schedule. Here's what we have on a schedule. We do play tomorrow, and we play again Saturday, and we play Monday, Wednesday, Friday next week. When you look at the schedule here, this is it. You know, this is the season. So you probably have to treat the state playoffs in a scenario like that differently than you do a December or a January type of game too. I guess you could also throw that out there.
Again, you know, you can always second guess somebody, but I don't think there is any wrong decision in that point of the game. It's just you got to go with your gut and what you do and what have you done all year. Maybe all year it was in that same scenario, they pull the player and buy some minutes. Maybe that's what they have done all year. Mm-hmm. You know, again, at Shenango baseball, we play aggressively. We steal bases. So I was not going to change what I had done all year. And, you know, Chris was probably thinking the same thing. Look, all year, this is what we've done. We're going to continue to do it the same way. The last thing you want to do in big games is panic and get away from who you are. So whoever you are, you should maintain the same demeanor, the same character trait, and the same style.
Yeah, he did a great job in those 2 games filling in for Coach Steve Antuano for sure. All right, let's go on to the Neshannock girls against Shenango. And this game is a Tuesday night matchup. This will be 7 p.m. at Blackhawk High School. This is the 4th time that these programs have met on the basketball court this year. And all 3 times, Neshannock came away with a win, 52-32 in the first one, 72-25 in the second, and in the WPIAA quarterfinals, the Lady Lancers won 35-17. And at first observation, you'd say, boy, none of those scores sound particularly close. However, that first one, 20-point game, it was, I believe, 6 points going to the fourth quarter. So that was anybody's ball game going the last 8 minutes, Larry. Boy, they say it's hard to beat a team 3 times. It's a bear of a time trying to beat them 4, I would imagine.
Shenango's a better basketball team now than they were at the beginning of the season, and I think that's rather obvious with the 2 wins. You know, beating Seton LaSalle last game, and then you know the first game, the win on the road on the home court of the higher seed. They're a better basketball team. It's going to be a better game than it has been in the past. I feel pretty confident about that. And in basketball, you know, a bad shooting night can send you home. Foul trouble with one of your star players can send you home. There's a lot of variables that can make a difference in a basketball game. You know, it isn't like football where one team can dominate the line of scrimmage and they're just going to run the ball down your throat. In basketball, you have to make shots. There's always the foul trouble issue. You know, there's a lot of issues that could make the difference in a basketball game.
Ricky LaRocco was hired in, I believe, October. So how long does it take for a program, the players on the player side of it, to get comfortable with the guidance and direction that they're getting from this coach compared to any coach that they had prior? And same on the coaching side. How long does it take a coach to get fully up to speed with there's a lot of girls girls or boys, depending on which gender you're talking, and girls in this case. For a coach, how long does it take for a coach to get up to speed with knowing each individual girl's talents, strengths, weaknesses, what have you?
It doesn't happen overnight, especially in basketball. It does take time to develop the culture, and it takes time to develop the style of play that you want to play. It doesn't happen overnight. And, when you have good coaches, as they do at Shenango, Ricky and Bobby Nattel, as the season goes on, your team gets better because you get more comfortable with your players and they get more comfortable with you. Mm-hmm. and they buy into the system, and they're more comfortable in the system as the season goes on. And that's what we have here. Mm-hmm. Listen, Neshannock is a great basketball team. They have 5 starters back from a team that lost in the state championship game last year. Shenango's an underdog. There's no question about that. However, one basketball game on a neutral court and anything can happen. Basketball is a strange sport sometimes, where a bad shooting night or foul trouble or a twisted ankle can make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, you make a great point of Shenango's a better basketball team today than they were, in those first couple of games that I mentioned. All right, so the Union girls, Larry, are in uncharted waters, as Coach Rob Nogay mentioned yesterday to me. They were up 26-5 on Saturday against Portage, I believe it was, that they played, or Elk County Catholic. It might have been Portage. I'm going through they play Portage now. They beat Elk County Catholic on Saturday. They were up 26-5 and 28-10 at the break. And the next thing you know, it's 36-33. So they were holding on for dear life. They were reaching out and trying to grab a hold of any branch that they could, so they wouldn't get swept away with the tide. And fortunately for the Union girls, they had just enough in the tank and won 38-33, 38-35, I believe it was, 38-35. Larry, Union girls, prior to the season, if we had treated this like Vegas and said, going up to the window and I'm going to bet like 10 on the Union girls to get to the state Final Four. I don't know what the odds would be, but that you'd have a lot of money in your account if they can win this game. Nobody, I would believe nobody thought the Union.
No, you'd have about 2,500 in your account. Look, there was a time when my daughters played high school basketball at Riverside that Union was an automatic win. The game was over after the first period, and the JVs got a lot of playing time in games like that. Well, that isn't the case anymore. Coach Nogay knows what he's doing. He was a fierce competitor as a player himself. He comes from a family of fierce competitors. They have talented women on that roster. This is no surprise. This team is right where they should be. And again, it's at this point, you're playing quality competition. There are no cupcakes left. And Union will have to bring their A game. But as they have proven in the last game against Elk County Christian, when they bring their A game, they can beat anybody.
Yeah. And then the next point, we go to the Union boys. The Union boys are on the brink of a possible rematch with Bishop Canavan. The Union boys have, I believe it's Elk County Catholic, so they're kind of in the same spot as the Union girls. The girls just got done playing Elk County Catholic. The boys play Elk County Catholic Tuesday night, and that game will be at Clarion University, Larry. This is a team that we did kind of foresee having a good basketball team and possibly being in this position.
Stanley brothers can play. Their father can coach them up. A good shooting night. We talked about having a poor shooting night, how that can affect your ability to win a basketball game. Well, the Union boys are capable of going, as they say, en fuego. They could get on fire and start hitting threes from everywhere. And when they do that, they can beat any team in the state. And they're capable of doing that. They have those kind of shooters and that kind of talent. But again, they're going to have to play their best game. Elk County Catholic, I'm sure they have players from all over the county. It's an Elk County AAU team, and Union doesn't have that advantage, but they have a great basketball team. It's going to be a great game, but I like the Scotties, and if they shoot it well, they're going to win.
Mm-hmm. Real quick on the Union girls, what a job Rob Noguet has done as coach. I was very impressed on Saturday when I talked to him. He says, I'm trying to impress upon the girls to take this all in, because this isn't, promised to anybody. And he also mentioned, he said, Ron, look at our roster. And I did. I grabbed the roster when we hung up the phone, and they have one senior on the team. And I happened to look on the scorebook yesterday, and I didn't even see her name in the book. So I'm not sure if she's hurt or what have you, but this team returns fully next season. But he also mentioned, nothing's promised, meaning, who knows if somebody, moves out of the district because of a job for a parent, or who knows if somebody tears an ACL in volleyball or summertime basketball or something. You don't know. Just because on paper it says you're going to have 12 girls right back again, and you can quote unquote run it back. So he's wanting them to take it all in, appreciate it, enjoy it, but play hard. And I really don't see how they lose on Wednesday night. This is a tough team, Larry. This is a very good basketball team.
No, they're good. They're good, and he's right. It's when you look back in retrospect, to get to this point, things have to go right for you. You get a couple breaks, you get a couple calls, a few things go right for you. We were just reminiscing about my baseball season last year. There was a few things that went our way that allowed us to be WPIAL champs, and a few things that went our way that allowed us to get to the state championship game. So that's not always going to happen. And those teams that do get there are always able to look back and say, wow, do you remember when we got that call? I'll never forget it. To get to the state championship game in 2014, there's less than a minute to go into the game. The point guard for Abington goes back door, gets a feed pass. He's wide open, and Malik Hooker steps in to take a charge. If that call goes the other way, we're not the state champs. But it went our way. It went our way. And that's just the brilliance of Malik Hooker. The possession before that, he blocked the shot because of his athleticism. And on the very next possession, because of the cerebral nature and the way he played the game, he stepped in and took a charge. But if that call goes the other way, we don't go to the state championship game. So you always can look back and say, this call went our way, that bounce went our way. And so Coach Noguet's right. If you're here now, take advantage of it, because there's no guarantee you're getting back the next year.
And should the Union girls advance, there's a strong likelihood that they will play Kennedy Catholic in the Western Final, as Kennedy Catholic plays Otto Eldred. And anytime I look at that bracket, the first thing I think of, and really it should be the only thing anybody thinks of, if you know anything about Union basketball. I know
what you're going to say.
Yep.
I know what you're going to say. Craig Hannon, baby. They beat Kennedy Catholic in the Western Final. Yes, they did. That was a great game. I remember that game too, Ronnie.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yep. If you're like us, how do you think anything but that? And I was in attendance for that game, and I don't think they could have wedged anybody else either in the gym or in a parking space for that one. What a great environment. And who knows, we might have Kennedy Union round 2 in a different form, different gender, but that's okay. I think we'd all love to see that.
And it'll be a packed house, just like it was then.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Larry, anything else you'd like to say about our county?
No, it's going to be an exciting week for Lawrence County basketball. And I hope we're talking about 3 state championship games next week.
Yeah, we're right on pace for it. Who knows, everybody? We've got the teams competing. What an exciting time this is. Don't take it for granted, everyone, because even though it seems like we've had a couple years in a row where multiple WPIAL championship games, we had, 3 state title games last year, maybe two, Neshannock girls, Mohawk girls. Don't think that this is every year, but we're right in position where we can get multiple state title games. again.
And let me give a shout out to you, Ronnie and Cody and Pete. You guys do a great job of covering high school sports in Lawrence County. The Lawrence County athletes should not take that for granted, because this does not happen in every community where you get the type of media coverage that you guys provide. And you guys are the best. Congratulations.
We appreciate that, Larry. That means an awful lot. Certainly, our staff appreciates that, and we appreciate what all the coaches and athletes, student athletes, do, because there's a lot of cooperation that goes into it, and we probably require an awful lot of time and patience from people. But everybody works with us and does a great job. So that's we appreciate that end of it also. That's a lot. That's something that a lot of people don't see or understand, or might not even give two thoughts of. What all the coaches and athletes put into giving up their time for us after games, after practice, whatever.
And sometimes at all hours of the night. I remember calling Chuck Tanner one time at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and that man was so gracious.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right, but you guys do a great job.
We appreciate that, Larry. First of all, from everybody here at the Newcastle News, best of luck to the coaches, student athletes, the fan bases, the cheering sections, what have you. Best of luck. And second of all, stay safe and healthy out there when you're amongst those big crowds, and be safe on your journeys to and from the games. We will be back with you next week on Tip-Off. Hopefully, as Larry said, we'll be talking state championship games. What do you think, Larry? About an hour for next week? Can you block that?
Baby, schedule it now. Schedule it now. I can't wait.
All right.
I'll come in live for that one. I'll make a visit in the studio. Okay. Absolutely.
That will be special. All right. Maybe we can get you to sign some merchandise too while you're in here.
Well, I'll do it, but it won't be worth anything.
All right. He's Larry Kelly. I'm Ron Poniewasz. Until next week, be safe, everybody, and enjoy the basketball games.
I became an attorney because I believe in hard work, fairness, and human decency. In a word, justice. Our workers' compensation clients deserve justice because in an instant, their hard work turns into hard times when they get hurt on the job. No doubt, life is tough, but so am I. I've been fighting all my life, and I'll keep fighting for you. I'm Joe George, and here in Lawrence County, it's personal.